there. Perfect. Okay. So welcome to the workshop. Today I am stitching in the interior pouch for the latest video course on bag design. I'll show you the bag quickly, and then I'll show you a mock-up that I have of the interior pouch. So this is the bag that I'm working on, which many of you have already seen. Now this design I didn't actually have ready to go before the course started filming. So the idea was kind of to follow my process of how I come up with ideas and then implement them and then prototype and then ultimately create the first edition, the master prototype. Today I'm working on the interior of that, because obviously if you put something inside this bag, things are going to fall through the gaps. It's kind of a small bucket bag with a kind of a basket weave look to it. And the interior pouch, this is a mock-up of the design. If I just open it out a little bit more, this is just using a fabric-backed batting, which is used for interlining and things like that. Sometimes it can be used for chrome tan leather prototypes. That essentially then goes in here like so, and then you can do it up from there. So you can put all your contents in there and then pull the drawstring and it closes. That's the idea behind it and what we're doing. I apologize now, guys. I'm just getting over a cold, so I might sound a little bunged up or a little stuffy. And it's, 12 degrees in here. It was 11 when I came in. I've got the heater going. So I've got some warmer clothes on than my usual overalls. Needs must. I'm not doing any gluing or anything like that, so it's okay. So these are the 4 panels, excluding the base, that I'm doing. And one more here. And as you can see, I've folded over the tops. So these are turned edges. It's been folded twice, so there's no edges exposed on these parts. It builds out a thickness, gives more structure to the top of the pouch, and also allows a new type of grommet that I've never used these before, and I'm using it. I mean, this course is all about testing and prototyping, so I thought I'd give these a go. I see these everywhere. You can buy them most places like Amazon and eBay and stuff like that. They're solid brass grommets, and they are quite wide, so I need the thickness of the double turned at the top. But they're solid brass, and I kind of like that. They're like Chicago screws are to rivets kind of thing. It's like it does the same job, but it screws together instead of requiring tools. So I've never actually used these before. So this is the female side, internal threads, and the male side, external threads. And they just screw into each other. So I thought I'd give them a go in this course to see what I like. I might not like them, but I have tested them out. I thought maybe they're not brass or something like that. They're just like brassed, which is a brass plating over something like zinc, magnesium, alloy, Zamac, etc. But I filed them back and they're brass underneath. So I'm going to give them a go. They weigh a little bit more. But I think, a little bit of Loctite in there, do them up nice and tight, and it's going to be very durable. I've seen them quite a few places, and I thought, I've got to give these a try one day. So these 4 sides and the base will eventually get stitched together inside out. Inside out. So once these tops are all stitched in, so the turnovers need their own seams, I'll then be stitching them all together to create a 3D object with 4 sides and a base. And then they get glued inside out and then stitched together and then flipped, which you can see in that prototype there that I just showed you a moment ago. And I've gone with this color because I think it looks quite nice, because a lot of these bucket bags that you see will have like a canvas pouch on the inside, but I wanted this to be all leather. So I've gone with this, it's a calf leather, pigmented, designed for lining, bag linings. I've used them before quite successfully on linings for bags. And but it has a very light texture to it, a little bit like canvas, but it has that off-white look to it, a little bit like raw canvas. So it has that kind of like canvas and brass look to it with the tan exterior and the olive green interior. And I kind of think it works. But again, this is all testing, right? So it may not work. One of the things that I'm going to be doing at the end of this course, because it's all about design and prototyping and seeing what I like and don't like and experimenting, is to come up with everything that I would have done differently, and kind of be honest about my own work and thinking, would I change this? Would I do that again? And I'm pretty sure I'll have 2 or 3 pages of things that I would change. I always do. But that's half the issue, right? It's making sure that you find problems so that you can then make an improvement. If you look at something and think it's perfect, well, that's when the improvement stops. But the goal of this course is to empower people to create their own designs and use their own ideas to make what they want to make. But of course, anybody following this course can download and print off the pattern and follow along, just like every other course, if you enjoy the design. I'm going to move this up. So yeah, I'm stitching this in on the turnover that way, because although you've got the grommets holding the center in and the sides will eventually get stitched, it's not going to the turnover isn't going to unravel itself. However, because as you pull the drawstring, it just kind of fold in, and during its life, it's going to be folded and straightened, folded, straightened, folded, straight, because that's the idea behind it. Even though I'm using a good strong contact adhesive, I think a single seam along the bottom is quite prudent in this case. So it's above the base of the turnover and below the bottom of the holes that I've punched out for the grommets that you can kind of see there. Kind of straddles that line. That will just add a little bit more strength to it. Shouldn't really add any rigidity, or should ideally still fold just fine. But so far, I have to be honest, I'm really enjoying this course. I think it's definitely a good design. If I was back in product creation again, making and selling leather goods, I would definitely add this design to my line. Aesthetically, I'm quite liking it. I mean, I wouldn't wear it. I'd probably look a little bit odd with a drawstring bucket bag, walking around with a Dickies jacket on. But I wish I could rock it. Hi from Florida, says Scott. How's it going, Scott? Good to see you here. Thank you for joining. If anyone has any questions at any point, feel free to ask away. No problems at all. So this is the long side, this particular one that I'm working on. I have 2 shorter sides, which kind of are for the gusset area. And I've sized this kind of perfectly with the prototype. So I'm interested to see how it fits in relation to using actual leather. So the prototype material that I've got, which is batting or wadding with a fabric exterior, very closely matches the kind of feel, the hand feel of the chrome tan leather. This stuff here is very, very similar to this. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how it fits. It might be exactly the same. It might be slightly tighter. It might be slightly looser. But essentially the outside of this is sized to the inside of the bag. So basically taking the inside measurements at their smallest and then adding a little bit of that for seam allowance. Otherwise it would shrink. because you've got to stitch together the sides and then flip it, and the seam will eat some of the measurement, so to speak. You add a little bit for that. But again, that's a lot of that could be guesswork as well. Trial and error. Testing things out. Put that a bit further down. There we go. What was that? all I saw was something about ketchup, and then it left. I guess someone deleted their comment, or was that a bot that got deleted? So I've gone with the same thread that I've used for the exterior of this bag. This is just kind of like a, difficult to see. It's very slightly off-white. It's not kind of beige like this. So it does have a little bit of contrast to it. I did test out using thread that was an exact match, and it was just kind of, it looked a little boring. This ties it in a little bit better with the overall design of the bag, I think. It provides a little bit of contrast so people can see your efforts of stitching. It shouldn't take too long to stitch this in, to be honest. And then just finish off with a double cast and a little bit of glue. That should do it. Oops. Pull that back out. What I'm doing is just stopping short, pulling the stitch in, so there's a little bit of slack right before we pull it in, and then just add a touch of white glue, if I can find it. There we go. And just place it around the thread near the hole, and as you pull the thread in, it pulls the glue in. And then there we go. Okay, now we can snap the excess off near the base. Hello from Canada. Hello from the United Kingdom. That'd be a good few hours behind. What time would it be in Toronto? Will be 5 minutes to 2. I don't know where you are in Canada. It's probably like what, 5 different time zones or something crazy. Okay, so let's have a look at that. Let's take that out. So there we are. Soft leather, so you can see it's quite puckered. I'm not pulling it in very tight, to be fair. And so let's tap down. Well, first of all, let's push our thread back in the hole. So there you go. So you can see this area hasn't been touched yet. You can see this area has been tapped down slightly. Okay. I mean, it's it's very soft chrome tan leather lining. So even though we've built up a bit of thickness by turning over the layers and having basically a double turned edge, you're never going to have like super high angles or anything. It's not bad. It's not like it would be on, say, Veg Tan or something. Excuse me. I keep sniffing, guys. For those of you who are new to the video, I'm just getting over a short but nasty cold. You know, I was only really properly down for a day, but it wasn't one of those where I was like the symptoms were terrible. It's one of those where it's just absorbed every ounce of energy from you. What bag is the pouch for? It's for this one. So this is the bag that we're working on. Essentially, it's a prototype. It's the first time I've actually started a video course not knowing what I was going to make. I mean, I knew I was going to make a bag, but I didn't know what I was going to make. So it's kind of documenting my process so people can use that. I got scolded recently for giving a city for my name in the online. Okay. Cool. Yeah. All right. So that's that one done. How many have I done? I've done a short side and a long side. Here's the rear side. You can see the rear. This is just punched straight through with the pricking iron. It's perfectly straight. I haven't added a cast. There's really no need for this because it's the inside of the pouch. Excuse me. So yeah, so the back is just a completely straight stitch. That's fine. So I got two more to do. Another short side, another long side. I'm leaving this raw on the inside. If we laminated it, I think it would stiffen. You'd have to have much thinner leather, but I mean this is just over 1 millimeter thick, say 1.2 millimeters. If we had two exteriors like this, two 0.6 millimeters put glued together, we'd end up with a very similar measurement. But when you laminate things, it becomes a lot stiffer and doesn't fold as well. And folding is essentially what its main job is outside of holding things. So I'm leaving it raw on the inside. So it is like a nicely finished suede side, to be fair, and it is very soft. I could have done it the other way, and it was a thought, is to have the suede side on the outside. It would grip the bag quite nicely, reducing the chance of it being pulled out when you're lifting your hand out. But if it's sized correctly, that shouldn't really matter. But I'm thinking it would probably pick up stains and start to look a little bit dirty after being touched near the top after a while, and probably wouldn't look that good. Exterior on this it's a lining leather, so it's heavily pigmented, meaning that it can be wiped down with a damp cloth very easily, or cleaned using a leather cleaner or saddle soap or something like that quite nicely. Interior, obviously, yeah, but it's not going to be seen. So it won't fare as well on the inside because it's sueded and it's not completely resistant to stains. Howdy from the Pacific Northwest. Pacific Northwest. I've heard that expression loads of times. What's that, like Seattle or something? Northwest. That'd be that area. What? My American geography is pretty poor, to be fair. Yeah, I haven't been to many places in the States. Outside of like Buffalo, New York, crossing the border a couple times. Been to California once. Have I been anywhere else? No, I haven't. Except for stopovers on the way to places and stuff like that. Yeah, Seattle-ish. Did you skive the edges? No, I didn't. The edges will actually be, like if you look at this fabric prototype for doing the measurements, if you look at the edges, wow, it's seriously blown out. There we go. You can see they're actually on the inside. They're here. Where are we? You can kind of see they're on the inside. So if they're a little thick, which they won't be because it's only over 1 millimeter. I haven't talked this much for a few days. Excuse me. Cold's kicking my ass. Yeah, it's on the inside, so it shouldn't really matter too much. So no, I haven't skived this down. And to be honest, for those who don't have skiving machines and would have to hand skive a really soft leather like this, it is quite hard. Very hard to do. So starting just with a single back stitch. This will actually get stitched over the top on the side seams. Double checking, and we are good to go. So I hope you guys have got all your Christmas presents ready. I was very early this year, very early getting all my stuff ready. But I always seem to be picking up things at the last minute. I bought something else yesterday and it arrived today. Excuse me. It's one of those things, no matter how early you are, it just leaves more time for you to go, ooh, you know what else would be really good? All done and wrapped, says Barry. That's good. All done on my end, huzzah. Yes. Yeah, it's a good feeling when it's done. Did you have, have you boys and girls, if you've been good, have you asked Santa for any Leathercraft items this year? If so, what did you put down in your letter to the North Pole? One question, you've added leather strapping to the turning gears on your clamp. What's the purpose of them besides looking cool? This particular clamp, it's a Dream Factory thing. It isn't that great at preventing snags. So if take my thread and I've got big loops of thread, maybe a long piece, for example, and it goes underneath this, which happens a lot, as I pull up, the leather kind of just deflects it away. Whereas if the leather wasn't there, it would get caught on the inside, where it's just like, it's obviously been oiled, and as the metal parts are rubbing against each other, it creates a bit of a black metal slurry, and then you get all this gunk all over your thread, and you're halfway through a seam. It's a pain in the ass, but it gets caught on both sides, but both the clamp pressure side and the clamp angle side there. So I just skived a couple pieces of what looks like not vachetta, that crosshatch Italian leather. The name is not coming to. I use the name all the time, and suddenly on a live, I can't remember. Saffiano. Yeah, and then just glued it on. And so far, it's never come off. Yeah, but it's not for decoration. There is a little bit leather that you can't see on the inside of the clamp. There's some suede. Helen says, I have to make one more shoulder bag for my granddaughter. One more? So you've already made her a bag. You're giving her 2 bags. I hope she's very grateful. Or did you gift her a bag another time and this is just one for Christmas? That's a great idea. I have that problem. Now I have a solution. Yeah, just a little bit of leather. Doesn't have to be any particular kind, just a piece of scrap. And it doesn't impede. I mean, I can't turn my hand all the way around, so I have to kind of like do it in stages, up and down. But apart from that, it's fine. Yeah, the solution is just to use some actual clams. I got some English clams and some French. Excuse me. And the hinge is very far away. There's nothing to snag on. And this is what I'd normally be using. As you can see, I mean, this is down underneath my thigh, so it's not in the way. So there's nothing to catch on that. Some crocodile inspiration there. That's cool, isn't it? Love that one. But yeah, I'd normally be using that, but doing it on a live or recording it on camera, sometimes it's just easier to have the clamp that doesn't move around. And unless I want to put the camera in my lap, you're not really going to see a whole lot. So this is what we're doing. You're welcome, Helen. Santa found out the hard way how much an 801 Skyver weighs. Yeah, I mean, they look heavy, but they're a lot heavier than they look. I remember I bought that one off someone in London. It was like nearly new. I paid £500 for it. And when I got there, the spring had obviously gone on the tensioner, which I've since repaired. And the lady was like, okay, I'll take £50 off for you. So I bought it for $450. Picked it up in the work van. I had a work van at the time to pick up leather. And yeah, it was attached to the table. And I remember pulling it out the back of the van and then carrying it to the house. So it's the Skyver motor and the entire table. I was like this close to it, like a disc out my back, just pinging off the wall of my house. It was, yeah. And it was at that point I was like, yeah, I'm going to have to dismantle this thing anyway, so I might as well do it here on the driveway. And yeah, they're ridiculously heavy and just as awkward to lift. Because you don't really want to put all the weight of the machine on the arm that sticks out. I mean, you can, and I have, but you don't really want to. But yeah, once it's installed, it's fine. And soon, fingers crossed, everything going well, I'll be moving into a new house about 4 hours north from here. So possibly January, I'll be dismantling it and moving it again. So, and this time I think a back support, a weight belt, and some a good sturdy pair of gloves might help. Yeah, I'm in my 40s now. Turning 42 in February. Goodness me. Yeah, so I have to be a little bit more careful than when I was even in my 30s. I could get away with a lot more. I gifted her lots of bags. Do I have a history of leatherwork? Only as like a self-employed. Excuse me. I felt fine going into a live and then like constantly talking. Yeah, it takes its toll. I worked in my own business making custom leatherwork and also repair of vintage leatherwork for a living. But no, I haven't worked for a fashion house or a brand as such. Would have been interesting. Had to redo my life again, I would have perhaps gone a different direction in leatherwork to begin with. Would have been quite fun. Hi Philip. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Sounds like a nasty cold that you have. Yeah, it's not that bad, to be honest with you. It's just it's the remnants. It's always when you're getting over the cold that you're coughing and sniffing the most. It kicked my ass for about a day. I took like a day off, but obviously back at it now. With Christmas coming up, I'm not going to get a lot done. But Merry Christmas, yes. Family history. No. A lot of my family have been involved in craft type jobs. But not leatherwork as such. No, leatherwork is definitely a me thing. Apparently, there is in my family history. My sister is like a family history detective, has been for years. Apparently, there is a history of leatherworkers in the family. I can't remember if it's on the mother's side or the father's side. But we're going back several generations in the UK. Interestingly, my family on both sides for the last several hundred years have never been outside the UK, as in there's no other history of Dutch or I don't know, French or something like that. I always thought that was quite weird. Don't know if that's unusual or not. But yeah, I should look more into that actually. And I remember when she was telling me about it, I was kind of mildly interested, but kind of be interesting to find out what they did or who they were, and be an interesting podcast topic, wouldn't it, actually? Well, at least for me. That's not a tissue for wiping glue. I just blew my nose on that. Gross. That was a close call. What would you suggest to do need to start with leatherworking? You know what's a really good start is just straight up some vegetable tanned leather. I do have on my website, and I'll promoting my own stuff, but on my website I have a beginner's course, and it's just a really basic, painfully basic leathercraft course. If you have any experience with leather, don't buy it. Honestly, don't buy it. It's too simple. But one of the things that I suggest in that is get yourself like a piece of veg tan. Ideally on the thicker end. Where has it gone? Yeah, just something like this, okay? A thick piece of vegetable tan leather. It's like board. It's almost like wood. And cut a strip, maybe like 4 inches, as long as it goes. And then just literally practice your main 3 skills. There's a lot of skills in leathercraft. You've got to wear many hats, but you start with like 3 main ones. One is simply being able to cut leather. 2, stitching it. And 3 is some kind of edge finishing, ideally. And then you just take the top of the strip of leather in some clamps, okay, something cheap or cost effective to begin with. And then you just mark a line, use a pricking iron, some basic tools, and then stitch the top. And then finish the edges. Okay, so that could be just beveling the edges or sanding them nice and flat, putting a little bit of water or some kind of edge finishing compound, and then burnishing it. And then what you'll end up with is a burnished edge and a seam underneath it. And then you literally take a ruler and a knife and then cut that off. And you've got a fresh piece to start again. And you do another one, and another one, and another one. Now, always recommend for beginners, do 100 of those, minimum 100 of those. By the time you get to your 100th, it will be unrecognizable compared to your first. Get that out the way, as in it's the first thing that you have to do. And it's also, veg tan leather is the easiest to work with. It's the most well-behaved. It will tell the thread what to do, and it will expose any inconsistencies in your stitching so that you can visually see them. If you forget, if you cast one or don't cast the next one, you'll see it instantly. Whereas soft stuff, it masks it and it looks awful and it's puckered and it's very confusing. This stuff is advanced leather to work with. A lot of people hate it for that reason because they tried it and it was awful. Because it's just harder to work with. But there are times when you need something soft and supple, and it's good to have those skills. But start with the training wheels. Vegetable tan leather is the training wheels of leathercraft. That doesn't mean you can't make exquisite pieces with veg tan. Of course you can, everyone knows that. But it is more well behaved, and it's 100% easier to work with. So a lot of beginners make the mistake of buying some like couch leather remnants and stuff like that. I'm just going to try something cheap just to kind of like, you know, wet my whistle and try to, you know, see if it's for me. Unfortunately, it's the good stuff that will show you how to do it properly. And then you can go on to thinner leathers or softer leathers or leathers with heavy textures and exotics, all with their own challenges afterwards. But start with just veg tan leather. See if you can get some cheap stuff. You can get some really cheap veg tan leather sometimes in the most disgusting colors. If you go to a supplier and they have something in like flamingo pink with this horrible, like I've seen it before, like a surface pigment, and it's undyed underneath it. It's like, who would ever buy that? I will, I'll train on that, that's fine. It's just the feel, the thickness that I'm looking to work with to kind of get used to. Right, this last one I'm actually going to have to finish off camera, so I've only got one left. So I need to do a demonstration in a minute on this one. I'm going to hopefully save some voice for my actual courses. Yes, all my grandkids love homemade stuff, and they're great testers for my designs. That's good. Have you ever tried carving on your tan leather? Yeah, I mean, I started out, I was living in Canada when I started leather crafting, and I mean, a lot of the stuff that I made originally was a sheath for a hunting knife. I made the knife. Was there that I made when I started out. I made some scope caps for a rifle, and that had like a carved deer with antlers, like a silhouette along the front. A bow grip for a compound bow. Did that. Did some other carving stuff. You know, it was at that stage where I was kind of finding my own design voice, if you know what I mean. And in the end, it was just kind of like not for me. But yeah, I have some experience, but not a lot. I'm not the person to ask. I know very, very little about technique and that kind of thing for carving. But these days, I like the leather to do the talking instead of me. I'm just simply there to portray the leather in the best light possible rather than make it about my own artistic work. It's not a better or worse thing. It's just I found my way in with my designs. Some people can do some incredible, intricate work. It's very impressive, but it's just not something that I do. Love your courses, learned a lot, says Helen. Thank you very much. I'm glad to hear that. I'd like to make myself a wallet and a few other EDC items to use for my hobbies. That's always fun, making stuff for your own hobbies and for tools and things like that. Leather wrapped handles, did that recently. This I've used a few times now. That's leather wrapped and nicely burnished. I haven't touched that burnish up and it's actually holding very well. Pricking iron. It's actually fun, yeah. Like for LARP and D&D. Oh, LARP, yeah, live action role play. So I don't know what D&D is, unfortunately. Making your own storage items to hold your toolkit is a brilliant way to start. I've often wondered about making like a little tool belt that I can put like my hammer, a blade pouch, a sharpening stick, and a few other like pricking irons. That'd be really cool. Like a Leathercrafter's tool pouch. Pretty new, so I might use your site. Yeah, I mean, I got obviously paid for content on there. Got the beginner's course and the full course, but I also got a really good blog that I encourage people to go and visit. There's so many blog posts now. I've amassed quite a few. There's the podcast as well, which is another good one. So just try and absorb as much information as possible. Anyone from Belgium that knows where to get the leather? Oh, what's that Belgian tannery I used to use? Oh, we're going back a long time. There was a supplier in London that I used to get a lot of veg tan from. I still got a lot from them, and they used the tannery in Belgium. It's been a few years since I thought about it, but there are some good, very good tanneries in Belgium. Phil, do you have any vintage Leathercraft book suggestions? A lot of the names escape me right now. Technical Leathercraft. I actually have that. I actually bought the rights to that and digitized it on my website. You can buy it on there, but if you can get a hard copy, they're hundreds of pounds though. Get one. I think I paid a lot for mine. Any vintage ones? The names just escape me right now, but there are a few good ones. Al Stolman, although he's obviously into more Western and tooling work and that kind of thing. There's some real gems in there as well, with interesting techniques for bag making, gussets and rolled handles and briefcase handles and things like that. Not quite the way I would do them, but it's still a very good foundation if you're looking into like case making and bag making, things like that. Al Stolman has a few good ones. Vintage. Yeah, no, I can't think of any titles right now. But a lot of the vintage ones, they're all really basic, like Leathercraft. I own one that's just called Leathercraft. Try looking for Leathercraft book and see if that comes up. Obviously, they don't come from an era where, Google confusion is a thing. The leather box in Holland has great stuff. Yeah. Yes, I've used them before. I bought what have I bought off them? Zips and stuff. They're pretty good for that. Skin House. No. Oh, this is really gonna bother me. I'll close the live, and then it would like pop straight into my head. No. I have a feeling that there is what's that Belgian Devolo that uses them? I think they might even own them. And not Devolo, Delvaux. Luxury Belgian. They're like the oldest leather goods company in the world. I have a feeling that they own them, but I could be wrong. But yeah, all right, guys. I think I've run out of voice. It's starting to go, and I still have a little bit of filming to do. So I think I'm going to make a cup of tea, or whiskey, and then no, and then carry on filming. But thank you for joining me. Thanks for the conversation. Yeah, Delvaux, DELVEAUX or something like that, like Delvaux. I'm probably spelling that wrong, but I know it ends in an X. But very good, very good. They're kind of like, they get kind of compared to Hermes a lot. I don't think they're quite Hermes level. I don't know. There's not a lot of hand stitching involved in their stuff either. But the designs are very good, classic, iconic, not outlandish or garish or anything like that. They stick to their heritage quite nicely. So cool. Merry Christmas, guys. Thanks very much for joining me. And hopefully next time you see me, I won't have a cold. Delvaux, that's the correct spelling. Yep. All right, guys. Take care. Bye now.